Welcome, everybody, to Retro Encounter, episode 151, Shadow Hearts, part 2. And you are here with Holy Knight for the Lions Guard and Sworn Princess Guard, Hilary Andreff.
Hi, everyone.
Respected hero from the port town of Parm, Mendoza.
Hello, everybody.
And the winner of last year's Nonary game, Peter Triezenberg.
The experience scarred me for life, but I am here.
You grew as a person.
That's
And I am Stephanie of Rivia, and I just get back from 2 simultaneous dates with 2 different people. That's all I got. All right, so this is part 2 of our Shadow Hearts encounter. So we sort of finish on a disc 1 bomb, and the game almost literally jumps ship, and it takes you from Asia to Europe. And you pick up in Prague.
Yeah, pretty much. You pick up in Prague. It's been 6 months or so, and
yes,
Alice and Shuzen are running a paranormal detective agency. That I would
so cool.
Real talk. I would absolutely watch a TV show out of those 2.
Yeah, there we go.
I was literally thinking that.
Spin-off, yes. Did anybody check out their poster right outside of town? Because I definitely read that multiple times.
Oh, what does it say?
Oh, yes.
It's an advertisement, really. It's just like, do you need an exorcism? Check out Alice and Susan's exorcism service today. And
it has a really lighthearted sense of humor for its kind of, macabre style.
It is. I feel like the second half gets a lot... I don't know, for me it's weird that the second half gets a lot lighter than the first half for me. I don't know about you guys.
Because they've all known each other for 6 months.
Right.
They're all
and
still
even the music.
hanging out. Yeah,
even
that's
the
true.
And that's kind of interesting, like the time skip with that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 6 months is a good amount of time, because I guess they haven't even known each other that long, so you don't really see them together that long. But I like it, though. They all seem to have really good chemistry, and they usually have a lot of good and nonsensical banter.
Yeah. Especially with Jujin.
Yeah, he's kind of a spunky, spry guy.
He definitely is.
He and Alice's banter with each other I was laughing. It was really cute.
It was very, very cute.
I would totally watch that TV show, the attractive young girl and the creepy exorcist dude. I don't know.
It's all good until Sam and Dean show up, basically, but
yeah, and they all get along. It's fine.
But I like how
weird.
The tone kind of shifts from because in the beginning of the game you have these apocalyptic stakes when they're all trying to fight Dehwai or whatever, and then but after that, after Yuri gets absorbed by the Seraphic Radiance, it becomes a lot more personal. Like Alice is still looking for him.
Yeah, they're all kind of intertwined now.
Right. Yeah, and then eventually the thread does pick up into another kind of apocalyptic stakes with what Bacon's up to. But that will never not be funny. What Bacon's up to.
Bacon.
Yeah, no, there was one of those sentences too. Out of context, the man calling himself Bacon was just a great line.
Oh yeah.
I like how even when they know who Bacon is, Yuri just yells, "Bacon!"
It's a really dumb low bar of humor, but it really works. What was it though? Yeah, I remember one scene actually. There's a whole bunch of really cool scenes in this game. And so you arrive in Rouen and you go to see Alice, who's reminiscing about the place where her father sacrificed himself, and she and Yuri, they kind of share a moment, and then Roger Bacon shows up and he yammers on about life and death and curses, and then Marguerite shows up, and then Bacon makes a tactical retreat, and then Marguerite starts checking out Yuri and he says, "Whoa, I kind of like that."
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Right, because she's just jumping around him and
yeah, and then she's like, "Whoa, are you a ghost?" And he goes, "No, I'm not." And she's like, "Yeah, you look solid. I guess you're not a ghost. You're tougher to kill than a cockroach, but I'm glad you're alive." I wrote this down.
I remember. And her music in the background too during that. It's pretty good.
Oh yes.
The music in this game is so much fun.
She gets this fun music.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to get to London. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah, it's so upbeat and weirdly perky.
It's my favorite track in the game. One, it just reminds me of, I don't know if guys have ever played Radiata Stories,
Yeah.
but it reminds me of one of the town's music from the game, and I'm like, oh, this is my favorite tune. And so
Aw.
I
Oh,
was
which
excited.
one? The main
Um,
city?
Yeah, Vitamin Metropolis from Shadow Hearts reminds me of, I think it's either Yellowtown from Radiata Stories. I don't remember, but
Oh, cool.
yeah,
I gotta hear that again. Yeah, no, it did have a familiar kind of upbeat thing to it.
it did.
I
Yeah.
love that it's called Vitamin Metropolis. I mean,
Yes. Yeah, I know, right?
so
But
that's really cool. I also like how the game has a sort of episode of the week format.
yeah,
So like
yeah.
one episode you're investigating vampires in Romania, I guess. And the other one you're fighting off a monster in a toilet in Prague. Then you're visiting a creepy orphanage in London. Like I don't know, I think it's kind of cool because a lot of I think RPGs usually are fiction.
Mhm.
So it's kind of fun to play in nonfiction, and it's really, really loose with its nonfiction.
Oh yeah, it's very
Mhm.
loose.
That you
like-
just can't really take it seriously, but it's fun to see it referenced anyway.
Yeah.
I liked that whole dungeon when you first meet Keith or Vincent as he.
It's,
Yeah, the blue
Well,
castle.
The second I saw his last name was Valentine, I'm like, okay, I have to. I have to. But
He's cool though. I really like his
I-
attitude.
I like his animation when he's attacking, where he just puts his hands up and goes kind of boogity 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 boo.
Yeah.
Right, while still holding his weapons.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah, no, I love Keith's design, like purple, noble attire and his blonde long hair and his just
I do like how they kind of color code everything. I've always liked when when Power Rangers color code themselves elements. So like I even like how even though it's silly, but I like how Yuri's rocking the black and red and Alice is the white and blue, and they complement each other, and it's
Right.
so cute.
Margaret's kind of white.
But they genuinely work. Like Yuri can fight anything physically, but Alice is gonna save his soul.
the graveyard scene. I mean, no joke here. I would found that to be incredibly effective as like the way the game kind of treats like the fighting his inner demons thing.
right.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Literally, but like at the same time, the scene of him like digging in his own grave in his mind really affected me. Like, almost from a mental illness standpoint.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
and Alice seeing him there, and he's like completely kind of unaware at first, and like completely absorbed in digging his own grave. Yeah,
He's absorbed by the past,
Right.
One of my favorite instances of this too is when those masks start literally chasing you in the real world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when your malice fills up because you're so full of rage, you've killed so many monsters and they're coming after you. And so these masks start coming after you in random battles. And what's cool is when you finally take them on and you knock them out, you actually can beat them.
Yeah,
they
you
still
can.
come back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they still come back to you, and they're kind of wrecked. They're broken down a little bit, and they're still trying to haunt you, and it's kind of creepy. And they're really easy to beat, but they still haunt you.
Yeah. No, I really like that aspect because it kind of just shows that you can't really eradicate completely what you're battling against. People kind of tend to, think that when you're from a mental illness standpoint that it's like it's one or the other. You have it or you don't, and it's like kind of like it goes away. But it's not that simple, and sometimes it comes back in that form. It's not as strong, but it's always there.
And you have to be stronger, and
exactly
when you kind of confront it.
It's something you learn how to live with.
Exactly.
This game is deep.
It really is.
I like Alice's approach too when she's trying to help Yuri. Like she's not really kidding herself. She's saying, "Well, I don't know exactly what I have to offer, but I know it will be better if we're together," kind of thing, rather than just like, "Yes, I can save him."
Right.
That's actually beautiful. And like, even if she can't do anything, she just wants to be by your side. And that's usually what a depressed person would ask for, is that you sometimes have to face it yourself, but it's always good to have that support.
Right.
It's a lot to unpack, this game.
Oh yeah, it really is.
Even in the cheesier moments where you beat the guy with the mask and it was you all along.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I mean,
it's sentimental though.
Yuri's his own worst enemy.
It's cheesy, but it's nice like that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And it kind of highlights Yuri's character development a lot more, since he literally was a rude boy dubbed at the very first scene,
Yeah.
and then he becomes completely sentimental in this halfway point. It just kind of shows how far he's come.
Yeah, the game handles a lot of its, kind of past and present interactions really well too, and I think it really takes advantage of that historical component.
Right.
So it's kind of cool when you're looking back into the past through the game, and the characters are looking back into an earlier generation too. And since it is steeped in real world history, you kind of have some connection to it.
Yeah. I like
We've probably had grandparents who can tell stories about those times.
Yeah, it's weird because like even with the locations and stuff, you kind of can make connections, even though you've never been there and stuff. It's nice to have those points of references still.
Yeah.
So that you're kind of like it's easier to envision the Shadow Hearts world that way for me, because I can actually make the connections compared to making up their own world and trying to establish that on their own.
Just humorously, look at Final Fantasy 13, which is like, the Faust scene. It's like the core of the. Oh dear. Yeah.
And if you need an in-game encyclopedia to explain the plot, you've done something wrong.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it's great that it works in really familiar territory.
I agree. I think it's because, it's weird. It's effective world building in a way, because they're not doing anything to build a world. They're kind of relying on what you know about the real world to make their world itself, which is kind of interesting since not many games do that. So
I also like to compare to you get like the Trails in the Sky series where it's still kind of reminiscent of Earth development.
Right.
But they still have their own little orbments and spheres and all that, and their own kind of magic system. This one is like Zhuzhen has his yin and yang ability. Margaret has secret agent abilities. Haley has he's a ESP. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they just pile all these kind of magical things on top of.
They all exist simultaneously.
Right.
Yeah, and they were drawn from like the real like mythology, that a whole bunch of different mythology and legends and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Going back to after that graveyard scene, actually, like just talking about how he looks, it's kind of neat. There are some really nice small touches though, like the way his like vocalization and animation changes with his fusion after the graveyard scene. Like
I like that a lot.
Yeah, he's no longer in pain.
Oh yes, I was gonna make that point too.
I love those kind of touches. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was really nice.
Yeah, it makes the transformation.
Not his confidence, right?
Yeah, and it honestly makes transforming that much more. It's such a little touch, but it makes the transformations feel that much more empowering. Like when he's just, instead of being like, holds head, screams in pain, he's just like, I got this.
I know.
Demon monstrosity and bites your face off.
Yeah, one especially because this is the point where you're powering those up, so you have like theoretically even more difficult to deal with, or like stronger creatures to fuse with.
I like how this game handled acquiring new fusions. Like you get a couple that you get from side quests, like the really good ones. But and tracking down those gravestone items is actually pretty fun. That was cool. Like check this treasure chest twice.
Oh, for the fire one.
I got so lost in like the second to last dungeon. I over leveled for the rest of the game.
Same.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. But on the plus side, I got Eamon for after that final fight, and he has this weird looking front claw that looks kind of like a dual disc. So I was in.
Oh my god, you would.
Ore no tan.
But yeah, there was something even more empowering that you had a super demon that you could fuse with to just even whoop more ass to make it like a OHKO endgame weapon thing.
I was wiping a lot of single encounters because I just didn't want to deal with them. So I was just like, okay, you know what? Turns into demon, party wipes everybody. Like.
Oh, and I do like some of the compromises. Like you get good enough with the ring, so you get that talisman to block out the sight on it.
Oh yeah, the mind's eye.
But you're still good enough because you always and you always end up criticaling, and it's so worth it.
That is pretty neat.
Oh, did you like the stupid Roger Bacon challenge of the 10 in a row?
Oh, it's for the item, right? It was to get the ultimate weapon. Oh my god.
They do make you earn your best weapons.
Oh my god. Yeah. You definitely make you earn them.
Like Final Fantasy X level side quest. It's just
Oh yeah.
okay. That one's still the worst, but yeah, Shadow Hearts is a few doozies. There's a lot of like click in a corner or you'll miss it kind of moments.
Yeah, and some of them are remissible. Well, only one of them is missable, I think, is Margaret's. So it's
And the Dirty Mag, I think.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, that one's from the first half.
Again, this is the Shadow Hearts sense of humor.
You can't get back to the Asia map after you're on the second,
No,
which is
No.
it's unfortunate. So yeah, if you miss,
I guess because it would take several months to travel there by carriage and boat. That it's just not practical.
Yeah. Fair enough, but it's a video game.
Fine.
yeah,
Yuri can fly. He has wings.
yeah, yeah. And another thing that's missable is the lottery. So you have to see all 15 of them, and then you get to go to the chairman of that. And the chairman actually has the best defense item, which is the cotton something, and it halves all physical damage by half.
Right.
So I was pissed because I thought I got all of them, but it didn't trigger for me, and I was like, "Are you serious?" I was pretty annoyed, but I was over leveled anyways. So I was like,
so yeah, it worked out anyway.
Right, I was like, I don't need this anymore.
I hated learning this game's like terminologies for items too. I would never have guessed Talisman of Luck was, the revival thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I remember that screwed me up for about the first third of the game.
Oh. You know what I was really terrible about using actually were the seals, and I don't know why because they're really helpful. But I hoarded
Are you
a
one of
bunch
those people
them.
who will always save like all 9 elixirs you get for the end game
Oh yeah.
and still not use it?
Yeah.
Sure as heck saved those 7 keys for the final boss fight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you find out the Roger Bacon that you've been chasing is not Roger Bacon. I'm going to keep saying his name as much as I can. But actually Albert Simon.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're both real life historical characters, and the real Roger Bacon would be over 800 years old at this point, and he's still kicking and his nose looks a little stepped in. And he's weird, and so he's not the villain. He's actually a very cool omnipotentish or just ancient guy.
Yeah.
And he's super cool and he's super old and he's a bit of a pervert, but he's a lot of fun. And he, yeah. So,
yeah.
hard to describe Roger Bacon. He usually comes in at the best time though.
Yeah, he does. And one of my favorite scenes is when you first meet him, he's like, by the way, and then you get to name him. And once you press enter, he's like, you thought you get to name me, didn't you? You thought I'd be part of your party.
That's hilarious.
He actually plays on the
Yeah, the first time I was laughing so hard because he was just like, well, I'm not part of it's too late for me. It's like it's past the halfway point. It's almost done. I barely got any screen time.
Yeah, and they even make a joke like it's like a fourth wall break, like it's unfinished. Like,
right.
Yeah. Because he's from Koudelka, isn't he?
Yes.
Yes.
He is.
How they start tying it into Koudelka is really cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you find out. Well, you get to meet the 6th character, which is Hallie, and I don't know if we talked about him in the first.
No,
but
yeah,
Hallie is pretty much kind of the connection between one of the connections between the first Koudelka and Shadow Hearts, since he's Koudelka's son. And it was never confirmed who Hallie's dad is, but everyone's pretty much assuming that it's Edward from the first game.
Yeah. I heard that Hallie's last name in the Japanese version is Plunkett or something close to it.
Yeah, it was Plunkett, and then they changed it they mistranslated it in the English translation.
Well, the Koudelka, even for an early 1900s woman, will not change her name. She knows it's awesome.
Yeah.
Was it Koudelka Asant, I think?
Asant, yeah.
Yeah, Asant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a way too cool name to change.
Hey, Trish.
What's up?
I hate you.
Oh my god. Oh my god. You don't know how much I hated using him. All those times that those required times you had to use him, I was like, I need to get earplugs for this.
I think that's what it was that I was stuck in the dungeon where he was mandatory too, and so I just over leveled with him and just stuck it out with him. So I just heard that every time.
His voice the whole time.
Oh my! I was like,
his power's really cool looking, at least.
Yeah, his moves are great. I'm just like, but after like the upteenth time, I hear, "I hate you, I hate you." I was like, I need to put on music. I need to mute this now because I can't get through this.
Somebody give this kid like a stack of Nine Inch Nails CDs.
Anyways.
But those parts of the game are really cool.
That orphanage chapter is scary as hell.
Oh my gosh! Tell me about it.
Same with the mental health hospital, because like old timey like mental hospitals don't need.
Yeah, they were the grossest. Like they were.
Oh yeah.
Awful to read about.
Yeah, that's the part of the game where the atmosphere is just top notch. Like you can cut it with a knife.
I like how a lot of the towns take place at night too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's definitely a mood set game. A lot of the scenery is at night, but it's still again lighthearted and usually uses ambiance very well.
Yeah, it's definitely with. Yeah, no, that goes a lot. That goes especially true for Bistris, the town with the red fog. That really.
Oh my gosh, what a difference!
Yeah, that was very. I really, like you said, Steph. I really do like how they set up these episodes. Yeah. And I think that's one of my favorites. And when
like the evil mayor and the vampire in the castle, like it's cool.
And the whole cool thing about that is that there's this evil red fog, and you are sort of thinking vampires, but then it turns out the vampire is just kind of chilling and bored and helping the townspeople.
Literally, the bored vampire.
Yeah, he's helping the townspeople, and the real enemy is like really creepy mayor.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, the mayor
was doing awful experiments. Ugh. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the mayor just creeped me out. I mean, the first time I played, I was kind of grossed out by him already. I was like, "Can you just leave?" And then he just comes back, and I'm like, "Can you please leave?" Like,
yeah, he was like kind of perving on that mom and her daughter. Like, what a creepo.
I was like, dude, I felt so uncomfortable playing through that the first time. I was like, I want to get through this one.
No, but that setup is so good. It plays with your expectations.
It does. It really does. And that's what I like about this is that kind of just it kind of fills you with that fear.
I was gonna make a really tasteless joke, if I may.
Go for it.
Maybe it's like, you know, Alice and her dad. She's the daughter of a Catholic priest, which shouldn't be a thing because they don't do that. And his astonishingly attractive young daughter with this mini skirt. Maybe she was like, my daddy, not my daddy, but. See, I have questions about this game, but it's so cool. I love questioning just about everything about
it. Very unique questions.
Very unique questions.
Oh my god.
No.
You know, the man calling himself Bacon. There's several men gallivanting around Europe and Asia called Roger Bacon, and they're both really strange.
Okay, but the man calling himself Roger Bacon is a daddy, let's be clear.
Yep. Yeah, okay, so the orphanage is creepy as hell. You fight a bunch of body horrors, then you go to the mental asylum where you meet Koudelka of all people, and she's the one who's been communicating to you telepathically. How cool is that? I guess
you find the source of the mysterious voice finally.
For all 200 people who played Koudelka and can make this connection.
That's a great way to
it's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you fight a bunch of Roger Bacon's minions because, of course, there's minions. And one of them attacks you in a toilet. The one time in the game there is a toilet.
Of course.
Like, it's the coolest game. I'm not even saying this with rose-tinted glasses because I played this game for the first time 3 to 4 years ago, and it was still retro at that point.
Oh yeah.
I loved it. Like playing it right now, like this was my first time, and I'm like, I adored this game. Like,
yay!
It's just charming as hell.
It definitely is.
Oh, and that charm comes through despite being such a kind of a weird anachronistic stage in the gaming industry when this came out. You know?
Yeah. The speech was like the way they talk is weird, but it's very alive and funny and expressive at least.
Right. Right. And
And multiple exclamation points will be used.
Mhm.
It's some of that like 90s, early 2000s JRPG dialogue where if this was fully voiced, it would probably sound way worse. And whenever they turn on the voice
Shadow
acting,
Hearts 2 kind of does. Right?
whenever they turn on the voice acting in this game, it does in fact get worse.
Oh yes,
But,
it does in fact get worse.
For the most part, though, I think it's really solid. And yeah, like the fact that these games are basically lost to time is kind of a damn shame.
Oh my god, I love when Roger, like after Yuri fuses with the super demon and goes out of control, and Roger Bacon's just having an evil monologue while floating in the air. Like, wow, look at the demon's power. Haha, I will return. And then he kind of gets hurt while he's escaping. Like, oh, funny.
He does that again with the alien float.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Oh my god. I couldn't wait to get to the mental hospital. One, I wanted to see Koudelka, but the main reason why I couldn't wait to get back there
You say often.
was because
I couldn't wait to get to the mental hospital. Cheers, you weirdo.
Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, I think it has connections because I was going mental with Hallie, and I wanted him out of my party. And so the moment he reunited with Koudelka, I already knew that he was going to be gone from my party.
You
and I
could
was
pass
like,
the brat off back to
I know.
Mom.
I was like, thank God, take him back. Like,
did you go back to town and get him, or did you just?
No.
No.
I was just like, as soon as I think when he crawls under the vent and stuff, and then you're all alone with Alice again. I was like, please, thank God. I don't care if I'm one party short. I was just grateful that he was not there.
He would take the tactical
I know.
disadvantage.
I was like, I will suffer this handicap because this is. I do like Hallie's character. I just don't like him saying, "I hate you, I hate you." It just really is grating after a while. And
I'm just picturing Triss busting into that last room, being like, "Get down here, do something about that right now."
When Yuri was banging on the door, I was like, "That is me right now." I am like, Koudelka, you need to open up. I got a delivery.
Delivery. Oh my gosh.
No, but I do like Hallie's character. It's just that one thing that just gets so annoying after a while. I just couldn't stand it anymore. I just was like,
I do respect the character otherwise. Like, he thinks his mom's abandoned him, so he's really going through it. He leads a band of renegade orphans to steal a bunch of shit. And then he, uses his psychic powers to kill things. Okay, that's bad.
If it makes you feel any better, Triss, World War I happens at the end of this game, so his odds are
right.
Oh
No.
I'm sorry.
That's good dark humor right there.
I do like Hallie. I do like I said, I feel they just changed that one.
His mom is legitimately cooler than him, though, and that's just
that's true.
And that's just strange.
Yeah, it's just I agree. Koudelka is always gonna be awesome to me.
Yeah. One thing I've got to mention while we're talking about her is it's really cool to go from seeing her in the first game to seeing her kind of as a mother in the second game, and basically she makes the choice to go with.
She's a really tough girl in the first one, so it's kind of cool to see how she's kind of grown up.
Yeah,
and she's still badass as hell.
Yeah, like she resists everything they're trying to do because they're trying to use her powers instead of Alice's, or at least they tried to first. And she just was having none of it until they threatened Hallie, basically.
Yeah, I agree. I think
they had a lot of good parent-child moments in this game, actually.
They do, and I think on the first recording I said that I was kind of disappointed, but then now playing it again, I realized that I really liked the way they developed her character in Shadow Hearts, because it's still Koudelka, but it's kind of just like you said, she's more matured and she has something else to protect now, whereas the first one she was kind of like on her own and alone, and so I guess that's why she was a lot more reckless, a lot more just go for it, whereas this time she has her son, and then it's odd because her son also had things to protect, which were the other London rats. So it was kind of like an interesting parallel in that, seeing how they were both very protective.
That's actually really, really well said. Yeah, I completely agree. They really nailed her character, and the way they interwove the entire narrative is really, really cool. The game really nicely tracks the entire development of the PlayStation life cycle too. So this is like an early PSX game. Sorry, PlayStation 2, and then Shadow Hearts 2 came out in the middle of it, looked great, and the third one was even more impressive right at the end of it. And
Right.
but like the series is always told really, really good, kind of kind of dark, but treated in a lighthearted manner stories.
Right.
And one thing I always like about all three of them is that they all have you the option to pursue a happy ending, and I think that
Yeah.
says a lot about it too.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know. Well, for Koudelka. I mean, I know
One of them
skipping
is actually
ahead.
her sleeping with the dude, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the bad ending, which is the canon ending, because the bad ending was when James. Well, pretty much we can talk about the connection. So, speaking of Daddy from a long back, another connection between Koudelka and Shadow Hearts is Alice's dad, which is Elliot, Father Elliot, Morris Elliot, was it his name? Morris Elliot, I forgot his name, but he was initially looking for the manuscripts with James O'Flaherty from Koudelka, but when he had Alice, they separated since he had to take care of his daughter, and so they went their separate ways, and that's how James ended up in the monastery in Koudelka, and so that's another connection they have. And so I thought that was really interesting to see the connection between the characters.
Yeah.
Or,
And you get a little bit of that background when they're in France, and Alice is talking about meeting up with the priest there,
right?
Someone who knows how to defeat Roger Bacon, and she mentions that her dad was working with this other person, and then James went to Wales, and they didn't get letters from him really after that. They don't really know what happened.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And what's interesting is that in both Koudelka and Shadow Hearts, I know skipping a kind of ahead, but the bad endings are canon.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. Well, I don't want to get into spoiler territory with Shadow Hearts since it's tied to Covenant, but technically the bad ending is canon for Shadow Hearts.
Yeah, Covenant picks up right at the bad ending for first game.
Yes, definitely. But then they do a loop, and it's interesting to see that. But I don't know. When I first played Shadow Hearts, I didn't know that there was a good ending.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know about the masks and stuff.
Which, oh my god, Atman scared the shit out of me.
His design is just creepy. I swear to God.
Yeah.
So what happened was I was playing this game at like 3 a.m. when I saw him, and I was really, really, really tired, and I looked away from the screen because the internet or my phone had distracted me, and I looked away. It was a nice text message, and I was responding to it. Then I look up, and I see a bloody, red face, and I like went, ah!
Okay, did anybody not run into him at first really late at night? Because I definitely did too.
Oh no, I did. I was playing last night and I ran into him. That's when I ran into him and I was like, oh crap, I forgot this dude.
His attacks are scary as hell too. He just multiplies.
His eradication attack, I was just like, why do you need 1,000 of you? Like, I don't need to see multiples of you now.
I was like, could it get that scary? And yes, it did. So like the game goes on and so the masks kind of start eating away. So Alice has a chance to kind of save Yuri's soul, and it's sort of based on your performance in game. I didn't do it this time, just I didn't on the time limit, but I do love the good ending, and I do like going for it otherwise.
It's pretty much what happens is like the mask, in the first half of the game, it's the fox face that chases after you once your malice glows red. But in the second half of the game, it switches over to the masks themselves coming after you, since you already fought Foxface, which was yourself, and so they needed to, come after you now, since you prevented yourself from pretty much consuming you.
You saved yourself.
Exactly.
Dun, dun. No.
We tease, but it's all good. It's really good.
It is really good. And then even the game's codex stuff gives you hints on people assume that you need to do it in a specific order. You don't. It's just easier if you do it in a specific order when you defeat the mask, because if you don't, they're powered up to the point where they create judgment ring abnormalities. And that's why I forgot which codex it was, but I think it was the Oath Grail that tells you it tells you which order you need to defeat them in, because if you defeat the Grail first, then something else gets weakened, and if you defeat that, then the other one gets weakened, and then the last one gets weakened if you defeat that. So it's interesting because the way to get the good ending is you have to defeat Atman, and you can't defeat him alone with Alice. It's impossible. So you need to get the masks. So you need to kill the mask so that Yuri can come in and save Alice during that fight, and then you fight Atman with Yuri and Alice. So it's pretty complicated. I didn't
It's not
really.
an easy ending to get at all.
No, and the thing is, the game doesn't really allude to it.
No.
Because you're always taught that the malice was bad, and you always want to get rid of it. So that's what I did on the So when I played it first, that's what I did. I always try to make it go blue, and so I never ran into the masks when I first played Shadow Hearts, and so I was just like, wait, there's a good ending.
You really got to earn that ending. So I always get murky with the story around here, but like you get like a transporter to take you to the alien metagod or something like that.
Oh, I think we skipped the monastery part though, right?
Oh,
And then
yes,
Yes,
right.
we did.
Yes,
Oh no, I
the
forgot that part. I like that part.
monastery, which was the other connection to Koudelka. So you go back to the Nemeton Monastery, and for those of you who don't know, that's where pretty much most of Koudelka takes place, right? I'm pretty sure, yes. And so that's where the first immigrant manuscript ritual happened with Patrick and Elaine. And so, but now it's in ruins pretty much. So going through it, it doesn't look anything like Koudelka.
Yep, and to tie things a little bit even more closely together, Patrick was a friend of James's, right? If I'm not mistaken. So that made it all like a little bit more dramatic in the first game.
Oh yes, definitely. Yes, and it's kind of nice. Like they give you another nudge to Koudelka for those of you, for the fans of the game, and to traverse through the monastery again. And it still has that. It's not as eerie as it once was. It's a lot more well lit.
Yeah, no, it's like the top is ruins, and it's actually really pretty because usually the sun's coming through.
Right, because in Koudelka, you only see it through the night because you're only there for one night.
Is it like the darkness is gone? And
right.
Oh.
It's a really nice, actually, scenery, and that's where you fight. That's where you fight Simon for the first time, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's where one of the optional fusions are, which is Amen.
Yep.
I love getting the extra fusions in these games.
Yes,
So
Amen
cool.
is OP.
Yeah.
And
he's pretty good.
Yeah. And when I first got him, actually, I didn't know. I thought, because he comes with the question marks at first. And so I was like, how do I unlock this? And by pure chance, I was like, oh, wait, I went berserk. And I was like, oh, crap. Oh, no. Like, and that's when you get it. And I was like, oh, perfect. So that's when I completely forgot that's how you get the third level spells or skills.
Yeah, that's another like pretty tricky thing because unless you're in a battle for a really long time, that's not incredibly likely to happen under the right circumstances.
Right, exactly. And the thing is that here's another mechanic where the game teaches you it's bad initially, and then it says, but you want to do them with those. It's like, but you want to do it with these fusions because you need that for their skills. And it's kind of interesting because it's like a puzzle in that way, but I kind of wish they kind of hinted at it more.
Yes, let's let the really, really powerful, terrifying monsters go completely berserk.
Right.
That sounds like a good idea.
Right. I was worried that as soon as he went berserk, I was like, he's gonna attack Alice. I need my healer. And then
I do love a lot of the designs for the fusions too. Like it's actually just fun just to see what they look like. And then when your Super Saiyan final form, where you're a naked black-winged angel of of badassery, evidently.
You're Yuri Roth.
Yeah. But so how do you get the Seraphic Radiance again, though? Is that the final one you get for having all of them?
Yeah, so you have to get all of them, and then you need to also do all the side quests, I think, because you need to get the pulse tract from Roger Bacon. He needs to exchange the erotic book with the quest fact.
Right.
But in order to do that, you need to unlock the ancient ruins, and you need to go through the ruins first because you need the coats. I think the 3 different coats, I believe.
Yeah.
And and after that, you have to go through the ruins again, and then get the stone of radiance or something like that, something like that, to actually be able to obtain it. And then after that, you have to. It's a really, and then you have to go to the graveyard as Yuri, and you go to the gates that's open. And if you have unlocked, and if you unlocked everything, you look at the tree, and then once you try to leave the area, your dad will stop you, and you find out that he was the one that sealed seraphic radiance within him. And if Yuri can beat him, then he'll unleash seraphic radiance, and you have to do the boss fight for that, as Yuri alone.
I think that one's pretty hard, actually, right?
That one is, I mean, there's very cheap ways of doing about it. And I did the cheap way of doing it with the 5th keys.
Yeah, the 5th key. Yeah, you have a whole bunch by that point, I think.
Yeah, you have a whole lot. And then you have the swallowtails swallowtails that give you if your attack lands, it's all criticals.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally used that, and then the 5th key, and I killed it within 2 turns.
And then you get the seraphic radiance, which is like a weird naked man,
Yuri.
and
It's
weird naked Yuri with no genitals, and with attacks like for everyone.
Oh yeah, for everyone.
For everyone, for tomorrow, and
then
for the children.
Yeah, for the children is a very good attack because it automatically does like 999 damage.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you really get to end the game if you want on like a super on a pretty bombastic note.
Yeah, it's like, move over. I don't have time for you right now. You need to just die because yeah, it's a very good. I just like I like the design of Seraphic Radiance too. I was really it's nice to see it with kind of go back to Yuri.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a nice touch since, he finally got to master that type of self. And so it's kind of like him being able to control all the different fusions all into one.
Anything really goes for the designs. Like I know in the second one, I think he turns into like a female form even. There's the sort of pretty lady. So
knowing him, he was probably into it.
I
know. So you go through all the motions with the mechs. You save Yuri over, and you save in return Alice. Or what it is if you save Alice. Oh boy, does anyone want to talk about the endgame stuff a little bit better than me with Alice?
Say if you get Alice out of her soul contract with Atman, at the very ending scene at the end credits, you have Yuri and Alice on the train, and it will roll completely all the way through. But at the very end, Alice would either die because she just finally collapses and Yuri starts crying, or Alice wakes up and she's the one that. So it's either Yuri narrates the ending or Alice narrates the ending. So if Yuri narrates the ending, then it means Alice died and Shadow Heart's Covenant begins. And
it's gut wrenching to see him kind of hold her.
It's
for that.
really,
like that's actually a good gut punch ending if you didn't do it.
Yeah, and the thing is that whole I know bad hair CGI aside, I really loved that exposition on the train. Just because it kind of really, you feel relieved. I mean, the way that you're traveling, and then it's not just one constant even lighting. It has tunnels. It has the sunset, and then it's just a very kind of calming end to everything that you've gone through. But then
the ending is in really good taste and does a really good idea.
It is. It's really, but it also makes the ending scene or the bad ending so much more impactful because you don't really expect that she'll die there.
Yeah. They're at peace. They're snuggling on a train for Pete's sake.
Exactly.
And there's a warm light on them. It's very romantic, and then it'll just.
It's like, by the way, you failed.
Yeah.
Right. And so
she slips out of your arms, and she's been nothing but perfect to Yuri, and she changed his whole bad boy persona into something good.
Right.
So it's great. Like for how kind of extreme these characters are, they're really endearing.
Yeah, well, and how extreme some of the rest of the game is. Like you wouldn't expect
Right.
risk someone slipping quietly away like that. Although,
Right.
Yeah.
like the more you think about it, that is kind of one of the like menacing things about it is they
Yeah.
are still kind of like taking the most important thing away from him in the end.
Yeah, you saved the world, but you lost, the one person.
Yeah, exactly. And like when I was playing through this the first time, I remember I kind of completely forgot about the soul contract. So for me to see that ending, I was
Oh
just
my God.
What if this was
torn.
you?
I know. I was just so
Like,
torn.
oh no, I forgot.
I was just so torn when I was like, wait, why'd she die? And then I was like, oh my god,
Oh.
she exchanged her, soul. And I was like, no, don't do it right then. Like they were supposed to have a happy life.
Don't die yet. We didn't even kiss yet.
Right. Because the thing is, like, you never really get a duration of how long that contract will last. Because I would assume that, if, during the fight with Otman, when Alice dies there, I would assume that that would be the time to kill her off because she died already there,
Yeah.
And so for them to kind of prolong her life just for them to tease you and then take you away at the very end of the game, I was like, I need to know. I need to know if there's like a second one. I need to get it. And then I was like,
I do like that Shadow Hearts Covenant kind of teases that out though. Like they don't really tell you right away what happened in the ending.
right, they
It
don't.
just kind of picks up. They don't tell you where Alice is until they mention that she's just gone.
Right.
Yeah, no, Yuri sure doesn't want to discuss it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I love how like you said, the ending is so peaceful and like, oh, by the way, World War I happens.
Yeah.
The end.
Right.
We have talked about everything.
I think we have.
Yeah, except the Japanese military.
Oh
no.
my gosh. You don't really see that until you do one of the side quests though, right?
Right. Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's with the acupuncture guy. He gives you a letter at Ruin and he says, "Oh my gosh, that I cried at that scene the first time. I love Kawashima, but to have her go like that is kind of it was
Yeah, there was no justice. Like you grow to like her. You
No.
really actually do. For someone who's not on your side, she's she's
Right.
smart and she's really cool and she's cunning
She
and
gets it. Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
I really like how they extended her role in the second game too, or to her buddy too.
Right. Yeah, no, that was
They're a good in the second game. They're a good foil to Alice and Yuri, honestly. Like kind of.
Yeah, no, that was one of those things. I was like, oh, that was really. I was like, it's tragic, and I was like, please don't tell me it's Kawashima and she's dead, and I can't do this. And yeah, I was just, I don't know. I wanted to be like, no, we need to go back in time now and go to Shanghai and be like, stop them. And then even like speaking of the other side quests unlockables, like even they do unlock some of the other scenes. Like Keith has a little mini scene too with his
do they introduce Joachim, I think?
Yeah, the golden bat, yes.
Yeah.
So you get to see Joachim and his bat form, and you actually have to fight him, but you don't really fight him. He's just there. He gives you 5 turns to kill him. And honestly, I actually had trouble with that because I really am horrible with Keith's judgment ring. I
wanted to keep Keith in the game because I thought he was so cool, but I couldn't do his judgment ring as well as the others.
Oh, it's so tiny, and his hit area is really, really tiny, and so it took me like 5 tries to kill Joachim. He gives you 6 because after the 5th turn, he's like, "Okay, time's up. Oh wait, you know what? I'll give you one more turn," and I'm like, "I need another turn, by the way," and then he kills you with a 999 attack. And I'm like, well, gotta do this over. And I was just so frustrated because I just couldn't hit Keith's judgment ring. I was like, this is really hard. But then you get the scene.
Yeah. Everybody has like a specific kind of character sort of angle. Like everyone kind of has their own background looked into, I think.
Yeah.
I do like that a lot.
Yeah. And I think it's nice because you also get to know Keith's personality outside from just being, the master, because his personality is it's pretty hilarious. Yeah, he's very out there and he has very outlandish desires in the end, and it depicts him in a different light because you kind of just see him as a one-dimensional, very kind of like subtle yet very just much more calm demeanor, but his demeanor completely changes once he gets that item. Let me tell you, he starts glowing like, and even Yuri makes a comment about it. He's like, "Whoa, he's glowing," and so it's interesting. I wish all the characters got that kind of treatment when you get their items, but he's the only one since Duchen's and Hallie's. You don't get anything other than their items, and then Margaret, you do get some of her backstory, since you find out that to get her ultimate, this is the one that's missable. You actually have to get the water gravestone, I think, before the Bacon or Simon battle. And so what happens is after you get that, you see this lottery guy, and to get her ultimate, you just play the lottery. But you find out later that I think the lottery person was actually her dad, and that he wanted to give that item to Margaret. And so it's kind of interesting since you get a little bit of her backstory, but it doesn't really get fully explored as much as I would like.
I think it's because she's historical. They kind of
left it open-ended.
Yeah, because even with Anastasia in the second game, I mean, they went extreme with her, and it just made it so disconnected that it didn't matter what they did with her.
Yeah, there's only so many ways you can turn the historical figures into anime children.
Yeah. She runs off with a handsome boy in the end too.
Oh yeah.
Makes sense. Sounds like the animated movie again.
Yeah.
Where are my guillotines?
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah, so I have nothing but good. Oh, the music. I do want to compare it to the first and second game a bit. Like, I do get sad that the European chapter no longer has the, voice. The battle theme.
I like the second battle theme way more. The first one,
way more. Yeah, and I think it's got a cool name. Near Death Experience. Like, it's such a cool sounding. It's dramatic sounding too. It's got a really great sound. The battle themes I find rely a lot more on percussion and beats to kind of match the flow and rhythm of battle too.
Mm-hmm.
And so like they start getting kind of weirdly almost ambient as you kind of go on with the fights. It's less about a melody and it just kind of gets crazy. The last few bosses are just really crazy sounding.
And it's nice how there's sort of a transition. Like the Asia section definitely has a distinct sound from the Europe section.
Oh
yeah. Yeah, very true. Anytime they play Alice's theme, I always thought that song quite it's a great theme. There's enough really heavy and dramatic moments in this game too, where they know how to use it to great effect. The village themes are like, again, for the dark themes in this game, the village music is actually very upbeat and has a lot of personality.
It definitely is. I mean, one, we already talked about Vitamin Metropolis. It's just completely opposite. Exactly. It just sounds so. I love going to London just for that reason. I'm like, let me just stay here for a bit and revel in the music.
And it's kind of nice because you know there's a problem if there isn't music.
Right.
And the game always has really good bouncy music that suits any mood that it's in. It has a great series of composers behind it as well too.
I definitely agree.
I do think Shadow Hearts 1 does a few things better than the second game, so I'll definitely praise this one a bit more than the second one. For one, I love the dungeons a lot more in this. The pre-rendered backgrounds are way better than the caves and tunnels and Shadow Hearts 2.
Yes.
That was just terrible. I remember Shadow Hearts 2 has a 40-second loop for one of the dungeon themes, and it's just like, it's just dreadful. What was it? I think this will also be like a good RPG if you like towns as well. The cities I found were actually really good because, again, the music is really interesting, whereas Shadow Hearts 2 opted for like 2 different types of songs.
All right.
Like, I don't know why, but most of Europe in Shadow Hearts 2 had literally the same town theme. I thought that was a really strange choice.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I kind of like the characters in this one a little bit more. They're a little less
Oh, yeah.
ridiculous. And then
Fair
the
enough.
third one just gets full ridiculous with, especially with its version of the Valentine sibling.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to make the Evil Dead comparison again, it's like how the first Evil Dead movie is like a straight horror film. The second one
Right.
starts off straight horror and then eventually devolves into humor. And then Army of Darkness is just straight up ridiculous.
Yeah. That's a fair comparison. I just wonder why or
And then
how.
and then,
Maybe they
and
just
then they
embraced it.
and then they made a TV show, which is what I want them to do out of Shadow Hearts.
I would so watch that, especially if it's a period piece. Like I think it could be quite,
Oh yeah.
pretty.
It's like the Borgias, but with vampires. I'm in.
And visiting like early 1900s Asian Europe, I think would just be really, really cool.
Definitely.
It'd be great if they added like more of South America or Africa into the mix.
Right.
Because I do love otherwise multicultural cast too. It's really fun to see like a French girl, or sorry, a French secret agent, an English girl, a Chinese monk, a half Japanese, half Russian, a demon fuser. Like it's just really crazy.
It is. It definitely is. It's going off of that. I really I know we talked about the voice acting a bit, but I actually really like Alice's voice acting or voice actor in the game. I just felt like if it was the one that fit when she was narrating stuff, it was like she kind of got Alice, and it was just my, I don't know, every time I hear her speak, I just was like, that is Alice to me.
That is what she would sound like.
I think Keith kind of didn't fit for me when I heard his voice. So I was like, I'll pass on this one. Yuri's is okay, actually. Yours isn't so bad. But I mean, still, Grammys or whatever thing for voice acting goes to C Mama. That's sploosh.
Sploosh.
Oh my gosh, that just.
Oh man. So in the end, how would we rate Shadow Hearts 1? Final thoughts. In no particular order. Hilary.
Jeez, me first. All right. Well, I've always had a high opinion. It hasn't changed really at all, and I found myself noticing new things and appreciating it slightly differently, but pretty much as I did before, which was a lot.
When was the first time you played the game?
Oh geez. I played a little bit of it actually back when I was in high school, close to when it came out, and then I sort of put it aside for a while, and then got through it much later, like after college. So
yeah. Well, that's really cool. I think it was just me just a few years ago. I was like, all right, let's see what the hell the hype is all about, and I got it randomly. I think I heard one of the songs from it, and it impressed me, and then I pursued it on eBay, and I got like a triple pack for all three of them for like $60 on eBay. I was like,
wow,
that is a steal! Oh my gosh, I wish I got paid $60 for mine.
Yeah, no, and I swear to God, it was one of those games where it's like I knew in the first 5 minutes I loved it. Yeah, just the way the atmosphere and the way it presented itself was just a little bit cheesy and a little bit, but really cool because it was the real life settings. It was monsters, demons. It was familiar, and I went in blind too, so I think that really helped.
Yeah.
In the first 5 minutes, I knew I'd love it.
Yeah.
Triss, you've been talking a lot about this game. I'm taking it comes from a place of love.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like I've played it around. Over a decade ago, the first time I played it, and I came from a place liking Koudelka, and I kind of stumbled upon this, and it was just something I knew that I liked it because of its episodic natures with its stories. Like you said, it's kind of like a series of stories connected and interwoven together. And I've always loved that, especially with horror. And the way they always did this, and it's a serious game that never takes itself seriously once, like you have.
That's a good way to describe it.
And that's what I like about it, is that it kind of plays against itself. And it kind of jumps off of its own, trajectory. And it kind of never really you never know where it's going to go. But it's going somewhere, and in the end, it goes to pretty impactful conclusion where you never really. For me, it was open ended at the time, since I was like, I didn't know about Covenant, so I was just curious about it, and I really do enjoy Shadow Hearts, and I feel like with me playing it again, like Hilary said, you get to notice a lot more new things. Me saying that I didn't like Koudelka's development before, but now playing it again, I'm like, no, I really like her development now. And so you kind of get. That's why I always I'm always the type of person like to replay games, just because you kind of get to see things from a different perspective, and you never know if things that you probably didn't like before might be things that you like now, or vice versa. And so it's kind of interesting to see that different perspective for me. And this time I kind of was analyzing it a lot more than just playing through it, since I already played it. So it's kind of seeing, okay, why did they make these aspects the way they did? What kind of design choices did they make? Because I always like to pay attention to those things, especially since I'm so used to reviewing games. And so that's what I do look at when I review. And so kind of putting that lens on Shadow Hearts made it, look different for me. And so it was I love Shadow Hearts, and I will always love Shadow Hearts.
I was actually really well centered. I thought when you said it goes off its own trajectory, incredibly true. And it's actually great for it. Because again, taking something familiar and really makes you unfamiliar with it, because it's pretty much nonsense and lots of fun. And Peter, what did you think?
Like I said earlier, I really enjoyed this game. Shadow Hearts has been on my to-do list for ages. It's a series I always wanted to get in touch with, because it's always seemed really cool, but was never able to find it because it's been out of print for years. So once again, thank you, Steph. I appreciate it.
Of course.
And it's been a lot of fun playing this game. I feel like it's a classic RPG that really deserved more attention. I think the fact that these games are basically lost to time is criminal. And we really need to figure out a better way to preserve these old classics that people might not have heard of, but are still definitely worth playing. And then World War I happened.
I think that's a pretty good spot to wrap things up then. But yeah, I think we all give it I will give it the 4 out of 4 evil demon masks. I
give Shadow Hearts a seraphic radiance out of 10.
Or if not that, like a sixth key out of 7.
There you go. Four level 3 gravestones out of 5.
I'll just give it Atman. That's it.
Oh my god, how do you hate it so much?
And him and his 1,000 eyes, I'll give it that.
1,000 bloody beaten eyes.
Oh, I know.
Okay, so yeah, if you can actually find it, you can basically find it on eBay. Hopefully one day they pull a Grandia hat trick out of their butt and make this the surprise remaster game, but that's a pipe dream. But anyways, our next episode is going to be and please read our final thoughts. We've been doing nothing but bragging about it, so we can say other fluffy things about it, and tell us if you like the game too. We'd love to talk to you. And anyway, so our next episode is the top 10 SNES RPG games for real this time. That's a
tricked you guys last time. Sorry for that.
Okay, so we have to redo our entire catalog and instead add the headline, but for real this time.
This episode is essentially an extended apology for our April Fool's joke.
That is the first time I've seen this title, obviously.
I don't think it's the real title. I'm just being funny.
No, you have to go with it now. This is like a snakes on an airplane kind of moment. You got to stick with that. Yeah.
I'll pass it along.
Yeah. So very, very exciting. But our September game is going to be Suikoden 2. Yeah. So what was it? We did Suikoden 1 recently? I could have sworn we covered that game recently. Or no, I think it was just somebody. Was it Alana? I think she's playing the entire series or something right now.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I know. There's so much to talk about with that game. I can't wait for that one. Anyways, so please tune in for the Suikoden 2. That is, again, another just all-time RPG masterclass classic. Yes. And we have a special Pokemon episode in the works. I don't know anything about that. Peter, can you hint us more than special Pokemon episode? Who's that special Pokemon episode?
Okay, well, I'm not going to tell you guys what the gimmick is, but there is a special Pokemon episode in the works. It's based on a meme that was going around for a while, and we had enough fun just kind of talking about that meme that we decided we're going to do a podcast about it. So
Even if you hate Pokemon, the memes for Pokemon are some of the best. They're so
They're-
freaking funny.
they really are.
And fun, yeah.
So please look forward to it.
Please look forward to it. And the final show note I have is
Sloop, sloop, splat.
I don't know what you were trying to say with that one, but you know. Oh, do you want anybody to reach you and talk about games? Because we actually all tweet and talk about games. We're total nerds in our off time too. You can find me at Dice, like the throwing die, at Dice SMS on Twitter and just generally anywhere. Anybody else?
Yeah, you can find me, Peter Triezenberg. I'm at I Have Fury on Twitter. Right now, my Twitter name is Peter Pull My Devil Trigger, but I've got I change it occasionally.
I put that song on my iPod, then I took it off because it's just so long, and then I put it back on because it's just so good.
Yeah, I'm finally on the hype train for that game. It's
yeah, for sure.
Anyway,
All right.
So I'm ETFire on the boards if you're still there, or on Discord. It's the best way to reach me.
Yeah, and pretty much the same with me. I am Therefore It Is on both boards and Discord, so that's the best way to reach me as well.
Yay! And on behalf of RPG Fan everybody, splish, sploot, splat. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.